Oh yeah, Modern Warfare 2. Rajay from Rajay Gaming here for Lags, Libations, and Lost Saves. Going to talk a little bit about the game and the release, and I was asked to give a little bit of my thoughts and feedback. As with the crew here, I am one of the ones that probably played this game more than some of the others, although we do have some various players in the crew, but that is kind of a main staple that I like to check out with the Call of Duty series. So when that got released, obviously I was ready to play. So got that rolling now. Everybody was kind of pumped up for it. Biggest Call of Duty release on the PlayStation in history. Eclipsed 1 billion in sales in the first 10 days. So yes, the hype was out there about it and people bought right in. Apparently it was the biggest one on Steam, I believe, as well too. I'm not sure on Xbox how it played out because I'm strictly PlayStation for the most part. I haven't had an Xbox since the 360 days, but was really pumped to actually check this game out. Finally got a chance to get into it. Started getting into it when the beta came out and then when the release came out. And I will say, with the game itself, the game mechanics are somewhat decent, although there are some things that can still be improved on. Some of the things you see with the dolphin diving and people jumping around still and being able to shoot and still be able to kind of lock in on you while they're jumping. It's like defies physics on some of the movements there. So I think that is something they should work a little bit more on to try to get under control. But they did kind of limit the slide canceling. Supposedly you can't do it, although there are some ways to improvise around it that I've seen in games where you can actually fire maybe on the back end of the slide. So interesting. There's always going to be a way when people have the will to try to find one, it seems, in gaming. So we'll see how that all plays out. You know, the whole thing with Call of Duty and the fun of it is sometimes getting into the guns, and I do like the guns they have for the new setups here. One of my favorite guns, and this goes back to the beta version, is actually the Hurricane. That's one that I really liked back then. It took me forever to get that damn thing opened. You had to do a certain technique, and shout out to my boy, Collected Beard Gaming, who actually let me know what I need to do for that one. But when I finally got that open, it became one of my favorites, and now in the actual version, I do use that a good amount of times. There's some other decent ones out there, but also some ones that are not as decent. So I'm still not a fan of the M16. I will say, if you like shotguns, the Bryson is a great shotgun to actually have. That kind of delivers, and I've actually been able to build some stuff up on that. And then I also like the Sidewinder pistol. So I actually have a setup where the shotgun and the pistol, that kind of works out well. But that's a nice one you can have, fully automatic. And then there's some other ones in there too. You got the LMGs. Sniper rifles, kind of shaky with me on that one. Kind of like Vanguard. You got to really find a feel for them. But as far as some of the assault rifles, there's a couple decent ones. The SMGs, which has really become one of my favorite classes to actually use. Again, that has the Hurricane and a couple other nice picks there. And one of the more common ones, I think, is the M4 that a lot of people like to mess around with. So those are the ones you kind of run into. One of the big complaints, you know, with the game that you probably hear, that I also hear, is dealing with the whole skill-based matchmaking. People are kind of like complaining because of how they keep getting thrown in all these other lobbies, and they pretty much can't now be the big bully of the schoolyard and just going after people that might have lower KDs than them. I actually like the skill-based matchmaking. I think it keeps it more competitive, tries to keep you in levels based on your skill set, and you can have a great game and get thrown into another lobby where you get crushed, but that's all part of it. Just get good, just play better, just step up your game and stop complaining. I see all these people complaining, even some of these streamers, and it's like, dude, so you just want to be in one where you're always like just mashing other people that just weren't as good. I mean, if you're good, you're good, so just improvise and adapt. The operator characters are pretty cool. You have a good selection of some, and of course, as you go further into the game, you get to open up others. So, pretty cool characters. And when you do the campaign, you find out more on some of their storylines. And also, speaking of the campaign, if you do get this, you definitely want to finish the campaign if you can. There's supposed to be rewards for doing so that you'll get out of it by completing it. I have not completed the full campaign yet, but am in the process of doing so to see what that actually may be to unlock there. Sometimes you do these things and they give you other bonus type things that might be use for Call of Duty or maybe for Warzone 2 when that actually comes out. One of the big letdowns that I have within something a lot of people have had is that it doesn't have tracking of stats. That's kind of a bummer in that regard, but word on the street is that they are working on that and they do plan to actually bring that out now where you will be able to see your stats and comparison along those lines, which would be nice to be able to know where your KDs and all your stuff is there instead of just only seeing it when the matches are done. And the user interface, which was really a pain when I first started playing, they're actually looking at overhauling that to make it better, which is nice. It's just not like any other setups and how you have to get into it, and sometimes you end up backing yourself out of the game trying to figure out trying to invite one of your buddies in to actually play or connect on some other stuff. So glad to hear they're going to actually be getting that all updated. Not having much of the cheating that I've seen on here. I haven't seen a lot of cheating like you do with Warzone and things like that, or I guess you could say accusations of cheating, but you know some people are definitely cheating. They have the wall hacks. They've busted some people. You can see those videos on YouTube and some of this. So not really having that taking place yet at this moment. So hopefully that doesn't. And of course we'll have new things that are happening now. They'll be introducing the DMZ. Actually, by the time you watch this episode, I think it's today that they have the DMZ news coming out. And then, of course, we're getting ready for Warzone 2, which will be awesome. And they're already working on some other things to add into this game. They're talking about next year, instead of a whole new Call of Duty, they will have a new one, but it'll probably be an expansion off of this, which would be nice. So not this, we're going to do this year, we're going to World War II next year, we're going to go to Infinite the year after, or Advanced, or whatever, and blah, 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 blah. It's nice to actually have them be dedicated to something like this and just keep working to improve it along those lines. And I would say the last thing, well, next to the last thing probably is that the maps, they can be a little infuriating at some points depending on which ones you're actually in. I know a lot of people aren't fans of the border map, and then also with Tarak because it's just pretty much open. It's kind of like a project you had for school back in the day and you didn't remember you had to do the next morning and it was like midnight. So you only half finish it. That's what that map is kind of like, just a half finished open space, and a lot of people just kind of hide and dig in and camp. They bring their whole Coleman setup, so that one can be not as fun at times, but maps are what they are. I will say I like the one Zarqwa, I believe, where you have the water around the map, so you can actually have swimming where you're actually coming up in spots and shooting from the water and kind of doing some different things along those lines. And then the Greenberg Hotel, which is also a pretty cool one, and then also the Raceway, which is actually pretty fun. That's a nice one to run around and do some stuff there. So kind of almost like a Rust type thing, but just with cars and car sounds type thing. But overall, the playability I think keeps it exciting enough that you keep locked into it. I think it's a nice overall experience that you can enjoy, especially connecting with your friends on there or just having some fun. And if you're a fan of the old style of Call of Duty, I think it kind of takes you back there. So for me, really enjoying it, digging it. There are some improvements that need to be made. Some things I'd like to see them adjust on it, but I don't usually give a rating. I don't think I've ever given a rating on this program, but I think out of 5, I would give this one a 3.9 and look for it to actually get better and then take that score even higher. So there you go. Modern Warfare 2, that's my thought on it. What do you guys think? Let us know by leaving a comment in the comment section.